This is Late Night Health. I'm Mark Allen. Dr. Love, well, I've renamed him that. His real name is Dr. Dudley Danoff. He's a urologist based in Beverly Hills, California. He teaches, he volunteers, he does all kinds of great stuff. We've had him on the show a number of times. He's also really funny. And he's written a book called The Ultimate Guide to Male Sexual Health. It's interesting to me that he wrote a book like this, and I think I've mentioned this before, because most men don't tend to take care of their health. They avoid going to the doctor, but Dr. Dudley has made it easy for us to say, maybe I should take a visit. Dr. D, welcome. Dr. L, welcome to Late Night Health.
Oh, it's actually, the last name is Danoff, Dudley Danoff. A lot of people think. Well, thanks. Always a pleasure to be back, Mark.
Well, I didn't mention Danoff. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
But we've been together so long now that I figured I could call you Dr.
Yeah, you can call me
Dr.
You
Dudley.
can call me Sweetheart Booby.
Well, Sweetheart Booby, we got a lot to talk about. So we've got Valentine's Day coming up, next week. We have just in a few days, actually, and February is National Condom Month, and then we have to find out if sex is really good for us as we're getting older. And you've got some romantic ideas for sex that people can do to I guess to keep the magic in.
Well, I think the word is magic, something new and something fresh. And I think Valentine's Day is a perfect day, perfect time of the year to express yourself in a fresh and new way. I always talk about, or I talk about in the book anyway, this experiment about a male and a female mouse.
Right.
So the female mouse is in heat, and as mouse will be, if you put the male and the female in the same cage, the male mouse will mount the female mouse continuously with ever-increasing intervals, what we call refractory period, until the poor male mouse is completely exhausted. Now you take that lady mouse out and you paint her a little different mouse color and you spray her with a little different mouse perfume and you put her back in the cage. Well, that old tired mouse, the male mouse, is back at it almost equal to square one. So, that is a biologic fact. So new, fresh, interesting is very good for sexuality.
I'm going to give you my wife's phone number and ask you to. But it's true. After you've been married for even a couple of years,
yes,
sex becomes routine.
Yes.
How do you break out of that routine?
Well, again, it takes a lot of effort. We say. At least in my religion, the definition of Jewish foreplay is 20 minutes of begging. But seriously, and this is a mainstream urologist talking here. I'm not a sex therapist. I'm a urologist who wrote a funny book about the male part. There's no question about. It takes a lot of effort. It takes perseverance. It takes sacrifice. It takes understanding. You really have to go the extra mile. And if you have a long-term relationship, to keep it fresh and keep it vital is one of the keys.
When you're talking about keeping it fresh and vital, I watched a cartoon yesterday. I'll name it. I watched a cartoon yesterday afternoon. And because my son had rented it, and damn it, if I was going to pay for something that I didn't get to see too.
Right.
And it was an animation. It was a Batman. And at one point, Bruce Wayne wakes up, and there's a beautiful woman next to him. And he turns over, and there's another beautiful woman next to him. And then a third woman comes, and I was thinking, there is no way at my peak that could have happened.
Well, you could have
With the Cialis, I might.
Yeah, you could have dreamed about it, Mark.
Oh, the dreaming
so, you know,
happens.
when I was growing up, Batman and Robin, you know, they were always suspect as a couple.
Yes.
And so the cartoon, I think, must have been a little tongue in cheek. Were they testing him out to see if he would respond to three women?
I don't know. And then later on, the Catwoman or Batwoman made a pass at a police officer, a female. I mean, they're just, talk about updating and fresh.
Absolutely. Well, look, the same thing. If you're a gay couple, in terms of interpersonal relationships and sexuality, there is no difference. Love is love. Freshness is freshness. Caring is caring. I mean, the greatest aphrodisiac for Valentine's Day is love itself.
Absolutely.
Forget rhinoceros horn and goat gonads. But it is love in and of itself. Caring, passion, devotion, all of those things count.
And the idea of a little bit of alcohol, bubbly champagne at this time, is that a good idea?
I think it's an excellent idea. It takes away that little bit of a veneer of insecurity, of inhibition. I mean, I think Shakespeare said it best, and I'm probably going to paraphrase it, and then some professor of literature will correct me, but he said something like, alcohol addeth to the desire, but taketh from the performance.
Absolutely. That's what I was wondering about.
So a little bit is great, a lot is a killer. It's a sex killer. I mean, it numbs you, vasodilates you, confuses you. So a little is great, but a lot is a no-no.
And what about alcohol with Cialis or some of the other pharmaceutical drugs?
What we call the PDE5 inhibitors. That's the biologic name for that class of drugs. Cialis, Viagra, Levitra. They basically are vasodilators, meaning they increase blood flow. They're drugs of performance and not drugs of desire. So they don't drive the ego, they just help the performance. So that's a big distinction to make. I think alcohol in moderation and the use of any of that class of drugs perfectly safe. Those are billion-dollar drugs. I always caution young people who don't really need it but are aiming to be a weekend warrior to beware. I mean, the abuse of those drugs can cause a condition called priapism. I mean, you hear it in the commercial. If your erection, lasts longer than 4 hours, call your doctor. It happened to me. I would call everybody, but that's a different story.
Me too.
but there is a condition called priapism in which the erection won't go down, and that can be very destructive to the structures that make erections possible. So abuse of those drugs is definitely on the table, and be careful. But a little with alcohol, fine.
I know that a lot of guys I know in their 40s are using Viagra or Cialis to enhance their performance.
Well, it definitely will do that. You just have to be careful because you don't want to enhance it too much. I mean, you don't want that erection that won't quit. I mean, there isn't a guy alive that doesn't dream of that, the 24-hour erection.
But that's got to hurt like hell.
Yeah, medically speaking, it's a disaster, and that condition is called priapism.
One of the things that I've noticed that I think is interesting is that there are many supplements, herbal supplements on the marketplace, and they don't seem to have the side effects that Cialis or Viagra have. We've talked about this in the past. And I like that. However, they still increase blood pressure. Do they all increase blood pressure?
Well, actually, Cialis doesn't increase your blood pressure. It actually drops your blood pressure because it's a vasodilator. It dilates the vessels, so that's what lowers the systemic blood pressure. And that's how Viagra got a bad name. So older fellows were taking it. They had coronary artery disease. They would get angina, which is chest pain caused by coronary artery insufficiency. They would pop a nitroglycerin, Nitroglycerin is a very potent vasodilator, opens up the coronary arteries and lowers the blood pressure. So they took a Viagra to perform, lowered the blood pressure, got chest pain, took a nitroglycerin, which also lowers the blood pressure.
And dropped dead.
And a few of these guys were dropping dead. So that's the first contraindication to all of these drugs. Do you have coronary artery disease, and do you take nitroglycerin or an equivalent? Absolutely. But the drugs are very, very safe drugs.
And what about, we've got to talk about this, celibacy, especially in later life. Say you've been together with a spouse for 30 years, maybe 40 years, and the spouse dies, or what's becoming more common and at the same time, to me, humorous. You've been putting up with somebody for 40 years. Why would you divorce them? But they divorce. And either the woman or the man, their sex life is nothing.
Yeah, it's true. Well, look, it's very, very, very hard to keep a very hot sexual relationship with the same partner for 40 years. First of all, there's the normal aging process, so it takes you all night long to do what you used to do all night long. Women have changes, atrophic changes. Men do not have the upper body and lower body strength needed, to have vigorous intercourse. There's less blood flow. So there are a lot of problems there. But I've seen a lot of older men, have been with the same loyal partner for many years, and then for some reason get involved with the younger woman, and all of a sudden they say, oh, my God, I haven't had an erection like this in 40 years. And we call that the hard dick syndrome. You see that new sexy babe who could suck a tennis ball through a 20-foot garden hose, and you think this is the answer, and then you separate yourself from a loyal partner, and after 2 or 3 years with the young one, you find out, well, wait a minute, this is the same thing happening.
It's the same thing as the mouse story
right.
You gave.
Exactly. So we never want to be fooled by that hard dick syndrome. I can tell you that, and I write about that in the book. Yeah, absolutely.
And so new and fresh may be okay for a little bit, but...
In perspective, yeah. Keep it in perspective and understand the mechanism. And, Mark, you mentioned before about these, over-the-counter items.
Right.
So, for me, if it's not FDA approved, if it hasn't undergone the vigorous testing, controlled, double-blind, crossover study, it isn't worth the paper it's printed on. Now,
on the other hand, doctor, and so I'm going to disagree here a little bit.
Okay.
And that is that a lot of these herbs have been used for literally thousands of years, and why they don't have the double-blind studies, more and more double-blind studies are done on XYZ prescription, and in 3 years or 4 years after a bunch of people die or get sick or whatever, they're taken off the market.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
there are lots of reasons. Because these are generic substances, it's very, very difficult to get a patent on them. So it doesn't pay. It's not a good investment for a drug company to spend the money. Those are very expensive studies. So
no, I know. I've been involved in a couple.
Yeah. Our guest, thing, one more.
We've got more time, so we're gonna come back in just a few moments. Dr. Dudley Danoff, the Love Doctor, is with us here on Late Night Health.
My love, baby, oh so bad. You're not the only one I've ever had. And if I say I want to set you free, don't you know you'll be in misery? They call me Dr. Love.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100-foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
800-280-3454. 800-280-3454. 800-280-3454.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-789-7213 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 800-789-7213 to take your call now. Call 800-789-7213. That's 800-789-7213. Again, 800-789-7213.